let's review a little bit on the of the philosophy and the what React really buys us, right? React, as we mentioned earlier, is a library that allows us to build content, build behaviors, and dynamic rendering in terms of components, right? Ideally, you would look at a page like this and start identifying what elements go together, what could I encapsulate, and identifying how this is subdivided into multiple subsets of components. Very much like when you writing code in Java or C# or big project, you start, well, here's main, and that's my entry point for my algorithm. How would I break it up into multiple functions that can work together, or methods or objects or classes, right, that can communicate with one another and build my application, right? And the idea of object orientation and all these other techniques is that they give you mechanisms for creating layers of abstraction, right? Where you can do inheritance and whatnot, and composition and aggregation, so that you can build complex things in terms of more simpler things, right? Where you have small little Legos that allow you to build ever more complex things. So same thing here, right? And you choose the layer of granularity. Well, we might decide that maybe this entire page could be the aggregation of multiple subcomponents. Maybe you can have on the left-hand side a module list, right? That maybe you can pass an array of modules and it renders the list of modules. Same thing here. If I pass her a list of lessons, it renders the lessons as tabs. And here are the topics, and down below the list of widgets, right? And you can pass these arguments and they can render. And then the course editor is just the aggregation or the composition of all these subcomponents. And it's up to you to choose the level of granularity, how much you want to break it up into so many components. It might be that if you break it up into way too many components, maybe it's too granular. The same question you might say when you want to break up an object or a class, right, or a function in terms of other functions. How granular or how coarse do you want to make your abstractions? So the same thing applies here. How coarse or how granular. It could be that for you, the course editor is just one single component, which has lots and lots of HTML and JavaScript and whatnot, and that's it. Yes. Or you might decide that perhaps it's too complex, and you might want to break it up into smaller pieces. So let's just give just a whirl real quick on what this might look like. Right. So let's build here a component that can represent this course editor.